Hey friends, Gary here. I'm a big fan of Micro Four Thirds camera format. I've been using Micro Four Thirds since 2014 and it has been my primary camera format for my enthusiast photography needs. If you guys have been following my channel for a while, you might already know that I prefer Micro Four Thirds camera gear that are smaller, lighter, and not too expensive because it aligns with the original philosophy of Micro Four Thirds format. That said, I own this superb Micro Four Thirds lens. This is the Panasonic Lumix 35 to 100mm f2.8, which is similar to a 70 to 200mm f2.8 but for Micro Four Thirds. And unsurprisingly, because it is big, because it is not light, because it is expensive, I don't like it so much. I bought this lens back in 2015 for event photography and for some specific photography applications, but other than that, I never really used the 35 to 100mm f2.8 at all, and that is a shame because this is such a good lens. I think my own principles really hinders me from enjoying this beautiful lens, and I need to change that. A lens doesn't need to be small, a lens doesn't always need to be lightweight, a lens doesn't always need to be budget friendly. It simply just needs to do what it needs to do, which is to take great picture and provide pleasant photography experience. So in today's video, I'm going to share my journey trying to reconnect with this lens, trying to rediscover my appreciation for this fantastic lens, and also to share to you what this lens can actually do. Spoiler alert, I'm going to share plenty of sample pictures taken just using this lens so you guys can really see the potential that this lens has. Many people have been complaining in my channel that I never really share pictures. Wrong, I share pictures all the time and this video will not be an exception. Plenty of photos coming your way, please stay tuned. But before that, I want to share a little bit of why I don't really use this lens. As I mentioned before, I prefer smaller, lighter, less expensive lenses, and this guy is just big, heavy, and it's expensive. So automatically, I will prefer something like the 35 to 100mm f4 to f5.6. This guy has a very similar focal length range like the f2.8 version of the lens, which I'm talking right now, but this guy is so much smaller, it is sexier, it gets all the attention from me. And then also I have the Olympus 75mm f1.8. It is not a zoom lens, but the f1.8 aperture in combination with the mid telephoto focal length 75mm produces amazing bokeh, and portraits taken using this guy is just fantastic. So while these two lenses get all of the attention from me, the 35 to 100mm f2.8 is sort of just like become the weird middle child of these two lenses. It is big, it is bulky, the aperture is not large as the Olympus, and the size is not as small as the 35 to 100mm f4 to f5.6, and that makes me neglect this lens a lot. In order to change that, I set up a healthy challenge for myself, just a healthy restriction, not too difficult but also not too easy, to force myself to extensively use this lens more frequently. I want to come up with more photos using this lens. I want to try to challenge myself to come up with different compositions and photography genres using the 35 to 100mm f2.8. I think this challenge isn't going to be difficult because the 35 to 100mm f2.8 has a similar focal length to the 35 to 100mm f4 to f5.6. I'm already familiar with this mid telephoto kind of focal length, so it's not going to be a problem for me. And the f2.8 aperture I think is large enough for most of my everyday applications. What's going to be the problem for me is actually the size and weight of this lens. The lens isn't exactly small and it is bulky. carrying it for everyday photography is really awkward for me personally. But again, I want to try to force myself to extensively use this guy, so I have to come up with some solutions so that I can be motivated to use this lens to take photographs. So the solutions, there are two. First, I planned a journey with my wife and my parents-in-law to go to Kopeng in Central Java. It is a beautiful place located in between some mountains. In fact, from where I stayed in Kopeng, I can see four mountains: Mount Merbabu, Mount Telomoyo, Mount Andong, and Mount Sumbing. So it's the perfect location to really push the 35 to 100mm f2.8 to its limits. And the second solution, to combat my reluctance of bringing larger than usual lens, I use a slightly bigger camera bag for my trip. And in this particular Kopeng trip, I use this bag right here. This is the KNF Concept Alpha Sling Bag 10 liter. I think it is big enough to fit the 35 to 100mm with a body already attached to the lens. So we did it. We went to Kopeng, we stayed there for 2 nights, we had a lot of fun, we had a relaxing time, and I captured plenty of photographs just with the 35 to 100mm f2.8, and I will share to you the sample pictures right now so you can see for yourselves the kind of images that I took. So some of them are landscape photos of the mountains and its surrounding, and some of them are also portraits of my wife, some of them also close up on some different objects like flowers. Now, the Panasonic Lumix 35 to 100mm f2.8 is a professional grade lens, and with that in mind, image quality of the pictures taken using this lens will undoubtedly be sharp, detailed, contrasty. It will have great color, and I think the lens is very suitable for mission critical photography. Now, as you can see from the images taken using the 35 to 100, I just want to say that I get a vibe with this lens, a very specific vibe indeed. It's a combination between modern clinical look but also slightly organic with that, buttery smooth kind of feel, and colors also is a blend of modern with slightly vintage feel. It's very unique, it's very pleasing to my eyes, and I really enjoy this kind of colors and contrast combination. Now, without any comparison with pictures taken with other lenses, it might not be that obvious. But for example, if I'm comparing the pictures taken using my Olympus 75mm, the pictures taken using that guy will be more clinical, more modern, and the colors will be just spot on. With the 35 to 100mm, it's a little bit more artsy. I think it has its own charm, and it started to grow on me. I started to prefer the colors and the contrast look of the 35 to 100, which is more organic, as I said before, and just charming. Now, one thing to note about the 35 to 100mm f2.8 is the quality of the background blur or the bokeh. With this lens, you'll get a swirly bokeh, especially if you zoom in all the way to 100mm at f2.8 if you're taking portraits, and if the background has some textures on it. For example, 3 leaves or flowers or 3 branches, you'll see that swirly circular pattern on the out of focus area. Some people might call this a flaw, but I actually like it. I think it is charming, it is artsy, and I think it gives a very unique look. Anyway, in terms of image quality, I'm really pleased with the results of the photos taken using the 35 to 100mm. I think this picture starts to speak to me and convince me that, hey, this is a good lens after all, I should keep using it. Besides the image quality of the Panasonic 35 to 100mm f2.8, there are actually some other features that really convince me that this is a great lens. First of all, it is very intuitive to use. When you zoom in and zoom out the lens, the barrel doesn't actually trombone, so the length of the lens will stay the same no matter what, and I kind of appreciate that right now. I think it is very convenient to have that feature. Next, the lens also has optical stabilizer, making it very useful for shooting in slower shutter speed, especially if the subject isn't moving, and also for recording video. Next, weather sealing. It really gives me a peace of mind because when I was in Kopang, it was raining all day long when I was there. So yeah, with the weather sealing, I don't have to worry if the lens is wet or if it's raining or not because I can just keep shooting. Build quality of the 35 to 100mm f2.8, while it's not as impressive as the all-metal Olympus 75mm f1.8, it is much better compared to the mini 35 to 100mm. This just feels more reassuring to hold. It is just more satisfying and it adds a level of tactility when you're operating this lens in the field. Last but not least, the 35 to 100mm f2.8 is just such a fun lens. Whenever I'm using this guy, I feel like I'm a sniper. I was like, ha, 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 ha. I'm sorry, but it is just so enjoyable to use, and I think this is really important. For me personally, photography isn't just about the end result, about the great pictures, but it's also about the experience of taking picture itself. When you're taking picture, you have to prepare your camera gear, you have to set the camera properly, the lens properly, and then you have to compose, and then you have to focus. You have to do all of these steps one by one, and when your gear is not enjoyable to use, then it'll become a hindrance. You don't want to take more photos just because the gear is uninspiring. Now, the 35 to 100mm f2.8 has proven itself to be an inspiring lens when I'm using it on the field. It motivates me to take more pictures when I was in Kopang, and the combination of the image quality, how intuitive it is to use, and then also the focal length and all of the features that I mentioned really turns it into a single package that makes me want to capture more photos non-stop. Also, the 35 to 100mm, while able to capture many different kinds of pictures, it was never in the way between me and the scenery. So I was still able to enjoy the majestic view of the nature in Kopang, and that's very, very important for me. If a lens or any camera gear gets in the way between you and the scenery that you want to capture, then it's going to be a bad thing. You will have to struggle with your camera gear. Oh, why is this lens so difficult to use? Yada, yada, yada. And you ended up not enjoying the whole experience of you being there on the field capturing photos. And you'll never feel fun. You will just feel dreaded by, the gear being not competent. So yeah, the Panasonic Lumix 35 to 100mm f2.8 has proven to me that it is a great lens. It can take great pictures, it doesn't get in the way, and it is also fun and inspiring to use and makes me appreciate being in nature, appreciating the beauty of the sceneries, and just makes me feel grateful. So, if you are in the same position like me, if you have a lens that you never really use a lot because it's not that motivating to use that lens, try to force yourself to use that lens for a few days. Try to come up with some compositions, go to a different location, inspire yourself, and try to push that lens into its limits. And maybe you will change your mind. Maybe you won't end up selling that lens. Maybe you will start enjoying that lens more and appreciate it more rather than thinking about upgrading, buying new gear, and getting all into the gear acquisition syndrome. And that wraps up today's video. So that is all for my appreciation of the Panasonic Lumix 35 to 100mm f2.8. Hopefully this video can bring you some joy and inspiration, motivation to go out and take pictures. And as always, gear doesn't always matter. What matters is you going out taking more pictures. And that's all for today's video. So please let me know on the comment down below what is your favorite telephoto lens. Also, if you have any question about today's video, comment down below as well. I will try my best to answer them. Also, as usual, don't forget to support my channel by liking this video, sharing this video, subscribing to my channel down below. And if you want to support my work even further, consider using the affiliate links on the description below. Use the super thanks button to make a small donation to my channel or purchase my travel photography ebook course. If you want to improve your photography skill, I have an ebook called Simplifying Travel Photography, link also in the description below. Thank you, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.